I can go first, I guess.
Were you trying to show these chairs? Listen, it's a danger. You pick the wrong chair, you could end up on the floor. Although this one's pretty close to the, you can push the thing and, but hold it, it's not that heavy. It wasn't me.
Do you need chair training?
It's 6:30. Thank you all for coming. As chair of the select board, I'd like to open that portion of the meeting. A joint meeting between the select board and the budget committee, January 8th, 2026.
Dimitri, Chair of the Budget Committee, calling the meeting to order. Approval of minutes.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of December 11th. I'll second it.
So a couple of comments.
Discussion.
So on line 83, that fund balance, I'm not sure if that's meant to be a full point there or a sub-point. It appears the way it's written, that it looks like it's, we're saying the undesignated fund balance is expected to move out. I think it's just intended to be 2 additional bullets under wastewater fund.
What line was that?
83, 84, and 85.
On December 11th?
Yes, ma'am.
I think it's clarified.
Should I just say wastewater fund balance?
It doesn't need to say wastewater fund balance if those 2 sub-bullets just become additional sub-bullets under the other 3. I think it's fine.
So delete line 83,
I think so.
and then
Yeah.
we're 5.
Yeah.
Maybe move that word down in the next sentence.
Okay. And then line 98 and 99, it says presentation to the select board was discussed and deemed unnecessary. I certainly don't remember that. And public budget hearing on line 99, public budget hearing scheduled for January 20th at 7 p.m. I guess that is accurate. It's just the
So
presentation.
line 98 was the presentation to the select board for the budget at the select board meeting of the 15th was not going to be necessary.
Okay.
We said we didn't need to present twice to them.
Well, that's kind of why they're here tonight.
Yes.
Yeah.
We were gonna do that one.
That was good. Thank you.
Any other discussion or edits?
Oh, for the 16th, there was, what's the line item?
The motion is for the 11th.
There's one on the 11th right now.
Okay.
Oh, I thought we were doing both of them. All
I
right,
wasn't here, so I didn't want to
Sorry.
make a motion.
do we read it? We're doing the motion to accept as edited.
Yep, sure.
All in favor?
Aye.
I'm gonna abstain on Dimitri because I wasn't here. so
Okay,
I
you
have a
can
copy.
still vote on it.
I know I can.
All right, meeting minutes for December 16th.
I'll make a motion to approve as written.
I second.
I'd like to make the addition for item, where's that line items 66 to 70. There was more than just the general debate that was mentioned there. I believe Dan Reagan proposed a 1% cut from the proposed budget and asked me whether I thought that would be sufficient for those who would prefer the default budget. I said I didn't know.
So what should we get edited specifically so that we can add it?
I would say that specifically add those comments from the 2 members of the board, of the committee.
Can I have that written down so that I know exactly what you just said?
I can write it down.
Thank you.
So should we approve those at a future meeting?
Yes.
Yes.
All right, let's approve those at the next meeting. So 2026 budget review. All of you got a presentation in your inbox this weekend with numbers. I will go through that presentation largely the way it was written. However, there were requested changes by the select board. And then we also have other suggestions on the revenue side. So the plan is, I will go through the expense side the way it was presented, then we will talk about the proposed changes. I will go through the revenue side the way it was included in the meeting and the slides on Sunday. We'll go through the proposed changes and just go one after the other.
You don't have it?
I know, I
I
didn't
got
print
there,
it out.
I never got that email.
I emailed everybody Sunday, And
I
then-
was looking for it on a daily basis and I did
and then
not get
again
it.
today. And I
I
used
didn't
this,
get anything until noon today.
okay, well then I don't know why you didn't get the email on Sunday, but the email of noon today was the,
And obviously I was busy for the rest of the day. so.
Do you have it with you? Do you want
I
to
think
share?
that's what this was, isn't it?
Can we cast it?
know.
I didn't bring it with me
I
because I
missed it.
thought we were gonna get copies.
Yeah, first slide. Second slide. Not that one.
Can we cast it onto the,
I
Yeah.
will, I'm working on it.
oh, okay.
Yeah, we'll go through it slide by slide. I believe you will.
So, a lot of these slides are going to change depending on how the committee is end up going to vote or proceed at the end of the day, right? Because we're essentially
Darn.
presenting,
We gotta do something about that.
well, there's no chargers any closer.
Okay. All right.
It's because there's gonna be two budgets presented, essentially, two revenues presented, and depending on how we choose, we're gonna end up with different answers. Make sense? So the original is the black right here. So the original budget that you all had in December, we were having an increase on 1.4% in the general operating fund. That budget had a had an increase in the taxes to be collected of 7.2%, the town portion. That 7.2% was about 27% in appropriations, 60% due to reduced revenues, and 30% due to reduced fund balance. So while the budget was only going up by 1.4, reduced revenue and fund balance essentially made the taxes bigger, which I'll show you later. When you combine that total tax, town tax of 7.2 with estimates for other taxes in the town, the total tax impact on people's bills would be about 2.4%. The two changes to be discussed today are an increase in expenses of 140,000 and an increase in revenue of 90. And we'll go through all those one by one. I'm gonna skip some boilerplate slides that we normally talk about. So the original budget, we had labor and benefits. Last year was 2.756 million, and it would go up to 2.955. That's the number you all saw in December. One portion in that was planning of the retirement of the assistant town manager with a budgeted overlap of 6 months in the positions, which we all talked about in December. Boston metric for COLA from July to July. So from July 2024 to July 2025 is 3.2%. On the same side, the benefits are projected to decrease by 1.8% from 1.376 to 1.352 million, largely based on changes in healthcare elections that our staff are picking. But overall, the labor and benefits would see an increase. So again, those are the same numbers we saw last December. Operating costs were projected to decrease. There's no major changes with the following three exceptions. An increase in landfill cost to Lebanon, an increase in insurance cost, that's not health insurance, but liability insurance, and then a decrease in Whitney Hall one-time expenses, because we had two buildings and we were doing our construction stuff. So
Do
the,
you want that to say decreased?
It has a
Proposed
negative,
operating
a
cost.
negative increase, but I agree, decrease would be clearer.
No, I'm sorry.
At the top.
The top bullet, the
Yep.
full bullet.
oh, sorry.
That's right.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Actually, something know about that.
Debt service for 2026 is essentially unchanged. It changed by a couple of $1,000s. So again, same numbers that you saw in December, with probably very minor changes because in December it was 1.4%, now it's 1.36%. But the overall general fund operating budget would change from 7.839 to 7.946. Again, 7.2% is salaries and wages, offset by 1.76 reduction in benefits, 2.34% in operating costs for a total increase of 1.36%. So again, all pretty much the December numbers. If you add to that the water, sewer, capital, and TIF, so the water fund is going up by 1.37, sewer is going down by 22. I don't remember the exact reason, but I believe one of the reasons was like not contributing to capital reserve when the fund balance is negative, and decreased sewer costs to Lebanon, I believe.
Yes.
Yes.
Capital projects is staying the same, and TIF is actually going down 23% as well. I don't know what the reason for that is, if anybody knows. But overall, the total fund, usually the line item that appears on the warrant compared to last year is actually going down by 1.8%. And that's the sum of all the funds. As discussed in the last meeting as well, CIP is going to increase by $34,000 this year from $579 to $613. And then we talked about adding $20,000 to the police retention and bonus trust fund. So total appropriations would actually decrease from 10.2 million to 10.1 million, about a 1.1% drop. So for those who are looking at the Excel files, all these numbers are in revision 11 of the Excel file. So the proposed change. So to resolve ongoing financial controls challenges, Select Board voted to approve an expenditure of $140,000 in 2026. That includes accelerating the hire of the finance director by another 3 months from July 1st to April 1st. So instead of 6 months overlap, go for 9 months. The projected cost of that is $40,000. Relocation costs associated to the position, $40,000. Temporary contracted services to provide support prior to filling the position of $50,000. And an internal audit of financial systems and processes for $10,000. So this is new. So, any
Please
discussion?
explain.
It's also reasonable. Well, it's reasonable. If you're gonna hire someone, you gotta pay for it.
Good point.
Would you like one of us to? Yeah,
How about-
Please.
Yeah. So this is absolutely select board decision to bring this forward and recommend it, and we feel it's important. It's been long recognized that increasing the sophistication of our financial skill set at the town offices is important. And we've recognized for a long time that this is the proper time to make that transition. We have a planned retirement of a skilled staff member. We're going to lose a lot there. We need to gain not only what we're losing, but try to gain an expanded skill set as well. That's going to cost some money. It's unlikely, well, we've talked about it, we feel it's unlikely we're going to find somebody local, so we've included a fair bit of money, and we think it's a reasonable amount of money to relocate someone, to engage in a nationwide search as necessary, and to make sure that we can have as much overlap as possible, both for transitioning the existing knowledge and skill base, and have, if everything went perfect, they'd be ready to go next budget season. And we can all debate how likely that is, but we want to make sure we have the budget available, that if that's possible, we can do it.
Well said.
Beautifully said, yeah. Right on the money.
Somebody write that down?
I think the additional piece is that we unanimously agreed as a select board that we felt this should be put into the budget itself. It's important, it needs to be transparent, and we shouldn't be trying to take it from fund balance.
Yes.
We know what happens when you take things from fund balance. You pay for it next year right on the swing on your increase, and so we felt that we should be very transparent and put it in upfront. It's a lot of money, but I think we have some big shoes to fill, and we have a significant reliance on volunteer time. I'm gonna pick on Dimitri because he spends hours and hours and hours on this, and Dan has spent many hours, and I know a lot of other folks have too, to do some of those things that we've been relying really heavily on volunteers for, and to bring them back in-house so that it supports the budget committee as well and the select board in a better way.
Is this typical that a town pays for relocation?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, it is in this
Executive,
market.
this is a CFO level position. So it is standard for an executive level position.
I think it's prudent to have the money if needed.
So is
If
this
we
gonna-
don't have it, we can't spend it. If we have it and we don't need to pay relocation expenses, then we don't. It's all in the negotiation, but I think it's really important to have it.
So is this gonna be a separate warrant article, or this is gonna be rolled into a line item?
It's gonna be one line item in the budget.
Right.
That's why it's here today, because it's gonna, the numbers, Demi just went through what you did in December. This is in addition to that. And we're recommending that it be added as a new line item. So all those numbers will go up $140,000.
But I did say, and I made my recommendation, and we found a line for recruitment in there that has no budget right now, that we can put it on that one line and we can easily track the expenditures from that. So we can report on it.
So I've had the opportunity to talk to a lot of people on the select board about this, and I think they were very proactive in reaching out, saying, okay, what do we need, what do you think? And I am fully supportive. I think we do have some issues, and I think this position is not only the position, but it also ties into the new financial software, the new IT program we're getting, as well as, I believe, and I think we all agree that we need to do some sort of audit for our internal controls, and those three things combined will put us into a much better spot.
I don't remember off the top of my head what had previously been in the budget for this position and the overlap.
We did 60,000 and this put in an additional 40.
So it's 200K total.
No.
Well, it is total cost, not salary, but total cost. We had 60,000-ish in for salary before. We added 40 to that to do 9 months instead of the 6 months-ish. And
Plus the transition.
plus the transition costs and stuff. So we're looking at 200,000 total.
200K, okay.
So I agree with this as well. The only issue I have is the 50,000. So the way it was presented was it would be temporary prior to the position starting, right? So that would be temporary support for 3 months. So if the support were to, if the hiring were supposed to get delayed, the temporary support would simply take the money of the position, right? And I was told it was gonna be like 2 days a week, not full time. So if I do the math on that, even at $100 an hour, I get to $20,000, not 50.
Was the quote, we got 75 for base level and 120 something for.
105 for
105, yeah.
senior consultant if needed. Reading between the lines and talking with him, I think that would be that person interjecting when needed, and then they're recommending, or they're saying they have a person available to do up to 2 days a week remote.
And
Who's they?
MRI.
Okay.
And so, January has already started, so it won't be even 3 full months, right? So $20,000 a month is pretty much full-time, not half-time.
So
Go ahead.
I agree with what Ed said. We have to have the money in there. I hope we don't spend it all, but I think we need it in there. I'm of the mindset that we need to get this going immediately,
Yeah.
not wait for hiring a CFO. We need to start this internal control audit. We need to get the temp going. He's probably right. Dimitri and I will be the first to admit when I'm wrong, and I hope I am wrong, but I think we need to be ready to roll here.
I'm only pointing out the assumptions and the dollar
No, I
value
know.
that don't line up.
Does the temporary start in March after the meeting, or?
They would
Or
start
is it
like
going, or
right
is it going
now.
on our current budget?
It would go like right now.
We will start them Monday if we can.
Yeah.
I think it's money well spent.
The other piece of this, just to throw in there, is the $10,000 is a guess from me on internal controls audit. MRI has not got back to me with the cost of that yet. So it could be more, it could be a little less, I don't know, but.
My gut on that says more based on
My guess
having
is
been
30.
through other audits
Yeah.
professionally.
My guess is 30, based on some research I did when I talked to Alan initially, just, it really depends on what we're asking for and how comprehensive. But having the internal audit as a tool to hand over to our new CFO, so we're not like, welcome, try to figure it out, welcome, like, we have identified these points and really, you know, committing ourselves to refining our process and putting working systems in place where we have documented, you know, past issues, current state, and desired future state. I think that's super important if we're gonna be successful. And it also really will refine for the new employee. I want them to be focusing on watching our money and watching for those little things, right? And I'm not criticizing anyone, but it's super hard when you have little things going haywire here and there and you have an old wonky piece of software to do that work. So I think it gives us some flexibility within line. I would also say that I trust our town leaders to underspend a line and not spend it just for spending's sake. Like, if they can get it done and they can get it done, $20,000 left, I fully expect them to do so. And I think putting it in that one line, like Ed said, gives us that transparency. We'll be able to see all those items grouped together. It won't be in 3 different lines we have to go and then napkin drawing it back together.
Other discussion? So that would change the labor and benefits. So the wages would go up from 2.756 to 3.095, which is a 12.3% increase. And the benefits would not change.
Wait. They go up $250,000?
Is that last
From
year's base
2004 to 2000.
Oh, no, sorry, you got all,
Sorry.
not just that, okay,
Yeah.
yeah,
I
sorry.
had that same moment.
Yeah, no, I had a moment that it was like, wait, there's 40,000 and.
Sorry, from 2025
no,
to 2026.
This is why we work on things together.
I got it.
So it was before, I
Yeah.
believe it was like 7%.
Yeah, no, that,
Before it was 7.2,
yep,
and it would become 12.3.
yep.
And I don't know that it's a lot of change with that 7.2 also counted the 60,000.
Right. So rather than the budget going up 1.34? I think it was 3.4. 1.3,
1.4.
sorry, 1.36. Rather than the budget going up 1.36, it would go up by 3.14%. And the total funds, which is the line item that would appear on the ballot, would be a request of 9.604 million, which is a 0.3% decrease compared to last year. The other numbers would stay unchanged. And so I didn't have time to put Eric's stuff in here. I will later.
It was a really nice
Because I
slide.
gave you so much.
So the original we had a default budget of 9.38 million and a proposed budget of 9.464, which was an $82,000 difference. It would now be, and I believe both numbers would be on the warrant, it would be a default of 9.38, a proposed of 9.604, or a $222,000 difference. Any questions?
So we got together on the 16th, if I remember right, the difference was 210,000 between our budget and the default budget,
182,000.
182.
It was 1.96%.
And so we're pretty comfortable that all of these numbers are correct and right and accurate and
We are.
We spend a lot of hours in it.
Yep.
Yes, Dimitri? No?
I believe these numbers are accurate.
There we go.
The next topic is surplus before we go into revenue. Any questions on the budget side? If anybody wants to discuss budget side, now is probably a good time to do it versus doing it after we talk revenue.
So I'll just mention that at the last meeting, I expressed some concern, and David's right, I did say 1%, but then I went down a little bit lower than that, and I said if we get $60,000, I feel like we'd be making some progress. And I was challenged to go out and try and find some money. So I did meet with Jim Taylor and Chief Holland, and we had very, very good conversations. I trust these two individuals 110%. Their integrity is without reproach. And where we netted out was, in order to get any more money out of either of those departments, we'd have to cut personnel, salary, benefits, essential services, or defer maintenance. And I don't want to do any one of those, and I don't think anybody else in the room does. We've seen situations where other towns have deferred maintenance, and it's just a nightmare down the road. So,
Pay now, pay later.
Yes.
what's that?
I said pay now or pay more later.
Exactly,
We've done that
exactly.
before. Yes, we have.
We are that town.
We are that town.
The previous generations have done that repeatedly, and this generation has moved beyond that.
I like to think so. So in an effort to find monies, however, I did turn to the revenue side. And I don't know if it'd be appropriate to talk about that now, Dimitri, or if you want to talk about that later.
We'll cover the revenue in 10 minutes.
Okay. And the grants and everything else.
That's all revenue.
Okay. So we'll talk about that a little bit later.
But one point you did learn is that the basic principle of this process is to maintain a level service and level quality of service.
Yeah, I don't know that I learned that, Tracy. I already knew that. But I have to be honest, I don't like that part of the budget process where we get to the 11th hour and the chair turns and says, well, go find it. And Dimitri and I had a conversation about that. But I think for this year, I'm happy with where we're at.
Yeah. I think your point is well taken, that the primary movers, police and DPW, are very solid in their capacities, having been brought up to speed by Ed just in the last couple of years in terms of their budgeting processes quite successfully, as compared to what they were 4 to 5 years ago.
I don't doubt that for a second, but I do think it's incumbent upon a budget committee to always be pushing and
Oh,
looking.
always, always.
So I don't,
But their foundation that they provide to the budget committee is quite solid as compared to what we were able to look at a few years ago.
I can't comment on that other than it's solid this year.
Anybody else?
I guess I wasn't party to those conversations, but as you've seen on the spreadsheet I handed out, looked specifically at what the line item default versus proposed budget items were. I have a lot of confidence in the managers of the town, both at town level and departmental level, to be creative in finding funds that might result in some decreases that are substantial, not just paint-overs. I realize that it is difficult, and I don't have the expertise either in those departments or as a bookkeeping or accounting person to say where that money should come from. But I think if you want to make a good case for an alternative to the default budget, it should be made now.
Well, the default budget is cutting services,
Yeah, the default budget is,
so.
It's not, sorry, go ahead.
so the default budget exists as a safety valve if a budget fails. It's not, that's why it legally exists, so that, municipalities, schools and stuff can continue to function while they then sort out their budget. They're not intended as a target, they're not intended, there's no logic behind them other than allow it to continue to function. It doesn't shut down. That's the intent of a default budget. It's not to maintain services, it's not to improve anything, it's not to make things worse, it's purely to allow it to go. And I have not been involved in the budget process this year with you guys. I understand it's been a challenge, but I think you guys have done a great job. I mean, even with, I was telling Dan earlier, you can blame Eric for this one, even with the select board coming in late with, an extra 140K recommendation, even with that, the budget, as Dimly just presented, is, 3.14%, which is still below that 3.2% COLA. So I think you guys have done a great job. And I think you've really looked at it all. I mean, Dan's clearly taken a really deep dive into a lot of different sections of it. But to me, the budget you guys put together is a very good one, and I think it should be supported.
Yeah, I think if we have a budget that is below the inflation rate, that's a remarkable achievement. How many households can claim that?
I'm just looking at year-on-year additional tax rates over the past 4, 5, 6 years that are substantial, and feel that they're, and I would say we probably haven't done a good job because we are at this stage and finally discussing whether or not there should be some reductions rather than far earlier. We have been presented by department managers and the town manager with the budgets as proposed, but there has been minimal, hardly ever any discussion until very recently about any possible decreases. And I don't think that is what the role of this committee should be.
David, I respectfully disagree. And I am conservative and I'm frugal and I'm freaking cheap, right? And I'm looking to save every dime I can. But every time one of those departments came in and presented to us, we had the opportunity to challenge respectfully and to push back on them. And we did in some cases, and in some cases we didn't. So I think we did have our chance, and then I took another bite at the apple, and I'm confident, and I think there's much more to a budget than just the expenses, the line-by-line expenses. We have to get out of the weeds. At 30,000 feet, there's a lot of other things going on with the budget that Dimitri's about to go into that we can look at as well. So I can't agree with that statement.
I look at the default budget as an alternative to a zero budget process, and feel like that's another way that many businesses do it, and
We're not in business.
I think it's, we could have and should do better next year.
Okay. Dimitri, you got a couple of hands up.
Yeah. Wait a minute, go ahead, Cheryl.
I was wondering if anyone noticed the article in the paper this morning about the school district. They have been able to cut some staff, and responsibly, because the population is going down. So, and they don't need as much staff. So it's not hurting their education system at all, but it will help the community as a whole in being able to cut their budget.
Okay, Dave, I fully disagree with what you said, because I think there's a dynamic between this committee and the department heads and, Lisa and Ed, where they're coming in having already self-cut, so we don't have to. They gave us the reasons for things and gave us how they maybe save money by going after grants or whatever, and they're self-cutting before they even get here, in many cases. And I like that dynamic, because then I feel like I'm working with them, that I can trust them. And I don't want to lose that because we feel a need to make a cut because we haven't yet. If they're coming in with a budget that's responsible and that they've taken time to say, well, I guess I could give up this, and they explain that to me, then I want to support that, because I want them constantly looking. I want that to be their default. I want them to constantly be looking at what they're doing and saying, can I do better at this? And I feel like they do. And are they going to do it on absolutely everything? None of us can. Some days are better than others. But overall, I think there's a great working relationship there, and I want to support that. I don't feel a need to cut just to cut. I feel that if I'm getting good services for my tax dollar, I'm going to grumble when my bill comes like everybody. But I'm going to also know they gave it a real go to give us good services, that were consistent, that we're keeping personnel, and we're not continually changing personnel, which we all know costs money. It costs big money. That's where this 140,000 is. As soon as you have to make a change like that, it costs money to train somebody and upgrade what you're doing. And
couldn't agree more.
That pays off in other ways.
I just hope it makes a difference in the end by upgrading.
Right.
Yeah. Absolutely.
I also think that you can see by the amount of people that attend by Zoom and the amount of people in public that are here, that they trust us. They trust
I'm not sure I would say that, Shirley. I'll disagree 100%. People are oblivious to what's going on. It's like projects and stuff in town. They sit back, relax, and just kind of let the process take place. And then when voting rolls around, guess what? Oh, I didn't know anything about that. Where did that come from? So I totally don't feel like we are trusted.
Well, I don't know that we're not trusted. I'm not sure that trust in us is the question.
Well, that's what she just
Lack of
said.
awareness is really more the issue.
I know.
I feel they trust our judgment.
Oh, I
and
do
the-
too,
And
Shirley.
the expenses that we approve, that we recommend, or we would be hearing more.
David, if the next half of this presentation, Dimitri just wows you, and could we get you to the point where you would be willing to vote for a budget, or will we automatically go to the default budget?
I will certainly reserve my decision, but it would have to be a very, very strong proposal. And I look at the bottom line with concern.
So, one comment, Dave, I appreciate the comparisons between the request and the default. The one thing I would want to clarify for everybody who received this, the line 01495000930 transfer to capital reserves of 613 is actually CIP money. And that is not part, like that's an apples to bananas comparison. It's not part of the default, so it shouldn't be included in the 2026 request either. So the difference on your line item comparison is not 1.1 million, it's closer to 500,000.
600,000, basically.
5 or 7.
Oh, okay. Well,
It's still substantial, but I just wanted to clarify that. On the surplus side, so there's been a lot of discussion recently on the surplus, the numbers between what you were provided earlier, and sorry that not everybody got it, and now has gone up and down a little bit. But as we do every year, the surplus was estimated. It's estimated to be $238,000. It's unaudited. $280,000 is actually personnel, wages, benefits, which is 107% of the surplus, which actually means that the operating costs have overrun. And so, for what it's worth, with not all expenses reconciled, so that operating cost is likely to probably increase a little bit more even. As we do every year, I collect all the line items that are more than $10,000 off. So those who have underrun by more than 10,000, those who have overrun by more than 10,000. And I will zoom in so people can read them, but I would assume Ed will start going to the table and kind of comment on why things went over or under. Let's see if I can make this bigger.
No, we can kind of go down that if you want. Did you want to zoom in?
Yeah, hold on. I don't have my mouse, so it's a little hard.
It's the touchpad. It's not as much fun.
No, I'm going to bring it up on my screen because that sheet I gave you is hard to read.
Is that big enough for people?
yeah.
So health insurance, we knew this was likely going to be a little bit of a decrease. We budgeted conservatively while changing to the new insurance. And then throughout the year, employees made different decisions than we anticipated. I think I told the committee here that we had quite a few people opt out. Those types of things make really big changes. Anytime we have vacancies in positions, we have a gap in benefits as well. So that's really why that underran, and we ran numbers this year based on our current situation. Long-term notes and bonds, this kind of goes with one on the other side. We made a conscious decision as management to not pull the money out of the bank for these loans until we absolutely had to. So this is interest. We did not spend $145,000 that we projected on interest, and when you get to the bottom of this sheet, you will see that we made $145,000 exact amount more payment to principal, which will help the town in the long run by decreasing principal and interest over the length of the loan. Personnel full-time, I believe this was the DPW line, but this was really due to vacancies and changes in employees. One of the examples I gave was when Don Lashua left, he left at a higher level of pay and we hired someone new at the bottom of the pay scale. So we always get some savings when we do those types of things. And then during the vacancy when we're trying to fill the position. Employer paid retirement, this kind of goes along with this. It's a percentage of the salaries that we pay. It's not a straight amount. So depending on what people work, there's different things that calculate into that. Vacancies, changes in pay, all those things change that number all the time. Winter sand, this is storm dependent and we did not need what we actually thought we needed. And then another part of this, as we get to the bottom end, you'll see that we overspent on salt. Salt prices went up a lot and we needed more salt. So DPW told me today that they were kind of managing not spending sand because they knew they were overspending salt. On the police personnel, we had some vacancies. We did some changes in salaries. Those went up a little bit at the end of the year. We had $29,000, $329 left over. This is where the police are asking to take 20,000 of that and move it into the recruitment and retention reserve moving forward. Contracted services, this is community nursing. The line's offset by community nursing fund. It will not be exact at the end of the year because some expenses are coming in, some are going out, but between what we request this year and what we request next year, that will level itself out and be an even number at the end of when everything's all said and done, I guess. Aggregate and fill materials, we planned on renting a crusher to crush aggregate, but when it got that time of the year, we did not have enough pavement and stuff in the yard and rocks to actually make it worth renting the crusher. So DPW made the call not to rent that. We didn't want to rent it, pay more money than it was worth to actually get material out of it. And then also the drought reduced our ability to grade, so we didn't put as much material down as we were expecting either. IT services, there's a few lines as we go through here. IT services just got coded in different places depending on what the actual cost of things were. I know like overall our server came in under what we thought it was going to be for a budget, but we ended up having some extra engineering labor and those things. If you add all the lines together, I think they came out to be within $89 of what we budgeted. So it was pretty good. I put here within $100 because we're still getting bills and things. I didn't want to give an exact number, that was wrong. So software was kind of the same thing. Diesel fuel was under expended. I think that's the easiest way to do it, but every year we get out our crystal ball to figure out how much fuel we're going to use and what gas prices are going to be for the year. And as you guys know, they fluctuate. So this one we over budgeted, I guess. I don't want to say over budgeted, but we under expended by 16,000 from what we put. That's always a hard one because if fuel prices spike, we can overrun that pretty quickly. MSW contracts is our contract with Casella. This is the Casella contract. There are variables in the contract. There's fuel riders, different things. So I don't know exactly how Jim budgeted that when we did, but we ended up with 12,200 left, and we may even have another bill that slides in there. I'm not 100% sure on that. New replacement equipment, some money placed in this line was for the building move for the fire department. We put a little bit in each of the public safeties in case they needed something. And then some of this is under expended. The fire department, I think he explained that when he's here. They often do because they don't know what equipment's going to fail or things they need to replace. And as Jane pointed out, we're not just going to spend that money because it's there. We try to be very cautious of that. Whitney Hall maintenance, the audio-visual project went over what was budgeted and expected, so we expended a little bit more out of that line. There may have been a little bit more in some of the outfitting of that went into there, or the other thing that goes in there are janitor maintenance costs, those types of things. So a lot of little moving parts in there. Workers' compensation, this is actually actual cost based on payroll, and we went over. Again, I think that's a percentage of what we're paying. When we change employees, that changes things, and depending on which employees are where, every employee has different percentages that they have to pay into workers' comp. Delta Dental, again, this is based on employee elections or part of the total compensation. So that one, just with employees coming in, changing from single plans to family plans, different things, we ended up a little overrun there. Recycling processing, this is the actual cost of recycling the materials. So we recycle a little more than we think we did, and we don't get as much money back for different things. It'll change how much goes in that line. This one, the Public Works Facilities Repairs Improvements, somehow over last year, this year, and next year, probably not into next year. This should zero out. Those were CIP projects, but it was for the waste oil and ceiling fan project. Signs and markings, we went over here. We've been having discussions about speed limits on Crystal Lake Road and a few other roads, and we made a decision at the end of the year to purchase $20,000 worth of electronic speed signs. which overran that line. Utilities and electric, this is the actual cost of electricity. Rates did increase throughout this year, and then we added the Whitney Hall building and public safety building. I think you guys might remember last year we were saying it was kind of a guess how much electricity we were going to use with the new buildings coming on, and we ended up overrunning by $24,000. Employee paid ICMA, this is based on actual employee payroll elections. So depending on what employees decide to put in is what our expense is. Winter salt and chemicals, as I said, actual costs were higher than anticipated, and this is storm specific. Last week when we had the ice storm, we spent a lot of money in salt. So we have a couple of those in a year, and we're probably going to overrun that line, and then we have to manage other areas. IT infrastructure goes back with the IT stuff. I put the same exact comment there, that just lump them all together and we're really close to budget. Special projects, Potato Road Culvert, this was a management decision. We decided this year we were trying to put in for FEMA grants to get this. We have a portion of those that is failing, and we have to get some work done on that. So we made a decision to get the engineering done, and as we were coming to the end of the year, looking at some of the benefit savings things we had, I made the decision that we would kind of eat that in this year's budget and not go to CIP asking for that $70,000. And then principal expense was the other side of that interest expense. So we overpaid in principal by $145,000 and underpaid interest by that much.
Any questions? So our fancy chart. So the estimated surplus is 238 unaudited. There was $71,000 fund balance use approved. So the fund balance would increase by 167. However, because the total budgets are also increasing, your target also goes up. So that's why the green lines are increasing, because the green lines are 8, 12, and 17% of your total operating expenses, which includes bills we pay to schools and counties and all that. So actually, a week ago this number was trending down. Now it's going up a little bit, but it's going to be in this neighborhood, much closer to the 8% line than the 12% line. And so town policy would actually suggest you wouldn't be using fund balance. So I know we voted to approve 20,000 of the use of fund balance for the police retention fund. If people feel that should be reversed, we can reverse it and vote on it to not do that. However, as Kate pointed out in the recent meeting, I think the bigger, what you want to call elephant in the room is this fraud going to have to come out of fund balance, or where is it going to go? Because if it comes out of fund balance, this number is going to go from here to like here. It's going to tank.
So I was gonna ask, where is it?
I did talk to the auditors today. We went back and forth. They do recommend that we put something forward in 2026 to expend that out of fund balance. So it's something that we should talk about. I'm going to recommend that if we do that, that we put that on as a separate warrant article. I think there's a bunch of benefits to doing it that way. But
so why would we let voters decide where the fraud money has to come from?
I think it's important for transparency to make it very clear what's happening. That's one benefit of putting it directly on the warrant.
Yeah, but then people could vote it down, and then what?
Then it's the same as if we have a default budget. We're going to have to pay it anyway. It's just going to cut services out of the budget to do it. But I think it makes a lot more sense there. It's a lot more transparent there. I think your budget versus default in your other warrant article is more clear and transparent on what the actual budget's doing. I think it's a better recommendation, but it is something that we might have to use.
And so he's recommending for that for like this season, right? Not next year.
To raise and appropriate for 2026, which is the budget we are working on right now.
So
If we happen to have enough, which it doesn't look like we will in 2025, we could absorb it into the budget, but I don't think we're gonna have enough. We're looking for 361,428 approximately to, I'm pretty sure that's the number, but I wanna double check that because we quickly looked those up today.
So worst case scenario, what if the default budget passed and we had this warrant article and it failed?
And we're gonna have to find it.
We're gonna have to find.
The select board's gonna have to figure it out, yeah.
That's not a good answer.
I'm confused.
I mean, that's how it works. We're gonna have to do the same thing on the default budget. We have $30,000 going up in insurance, those things, we're gonna have to find it. If you wanna put it in the budget, there's a possibility, but if we go to default budget,
Then it's
you're
the
at the
same
same thing.
The
I
re-
think it's better to put it in a separate warrant article, be very transparent in what it's for, and let the voters decide.
The reason, can I explain why I asked this question? Because I think it's a very nuanced accounting concept in some ways. When you take out a loan to do construction for your home, right? The bank checks on you all the time because the collateral for your loan is the building you're producing. We didn't take out a loan to cover a fraudulent charge, right? So there's no physical collateralized item behind that money, chunk of money. So I asked the question because I felt the auditors were gonna come to us and tell us we had to reclassify it.
Yeah, I haven't got the legal answer whether we
Right.
could put it in there or not, but I think also from a financial standpoint, you don't wanna pay interest on this for the next 30 years. Then it just makes it worse. So let's
Doubles if you do it 25
let's
years.
eat what happened, let's get it behind us and move on. If we go to the default budget and we have to find this, we may have to ask that legal answer of, since we underspent on this loan, could it go in there? I mean, it's just a decision the select board would have to make at that point. But if we put it in the budget and the budget fails, we're at the default. I think keeping that article as clean as possible, adding another article to explain what we're trying to do here is the most transparent and best way to put this forward to the voters. That's just my recommendation.
So, I need to clarify because my understanding earlier in the budget process was you were talking about, okay, so we've had this loss, but I think we can cut what we're doing at that facility. It will all go in that loan, so it wouldn't pour over into
Right.
this at all.
Right.
That was my
That was my
assumption all the way
understanding.
through this process.
We,
And now I'm hearing the opposite, basically. And it has more serious repercussions in some ways, and I get the paying the interest for the next 30 years.
well, I can ask that legal question. This is coming from a select board
We're
discussion that
asking.
they didn't want it to go in there. So they made the
And they don't
decision
want
they
it to
would
be in
rather
the
it
law.
not be in the law.
Okay.
Well, no, the question was more, are we gonna be told by the auditor it has to come out of fund balance, because then that blue dot goes way down.
Yeah, we're in trouble again. We're back where we were years ago, basically.
I can let the select board talk, but they had kind of docked and decided they wanted it to come out of fund balance. So,
Yeah, so what we had discussed was, we're also in the process of selling the two properties.
Someday.
Exactly, yeah. I appreciate your optimism, Gene.
Well, it's just been going
Yeah,
on
no, no.
for so long.
I know. Yeah. But we are making some progress. It's about as fast as a glacier, but it is moving forward. But what we had discussed was, when those properties sell, legally, that goes directly into fund balance, those dollars. And then we would use that we would have a warrant article that paid the principal down on the loan. We've been learning from the auditors that mechanism doesn't really work, that we have to not take it from the loan initially, we have to use it from fund balance. But we still will, hope, at a glacier's pace, have these land sales that go back into the fund balance. So there's a little bit of mental accounting there of of what you're doing, but that is another reason in my mind to use the fund balance, because we will be putting some of that sale money back into fund balance.
Are you expecting to get 300 plus K from sales?
What's our,
Right now, and I'm gonna say that with some speculation.
yeah,
We're sitting at $325,000 on Union Street. They have found some structural issues and things, so I think there's gonna be a little renegotiation of that. What that ends up being, I don't know, but we're somewhere right around that 300,000 mark.
these are complex buildings that are tricky with,
Oh, they're old.
well, and they've got varied histories.
Special consideration.
Yes. They've got varied histories. It's not gonna be a dollar for dollar, that's for sure, but I do think that that's a piece of the puzzle that we should think about. And will that happen in 2026? Fingers crossed, but we don't know. I mean, Gene's correct.
Well, I mean,
The pace of these
nothing else
transactions is slow.
Ed had said that there probably wouldn't be a closing for the fire station by the end of this year.
25.
25.
I expect it to be by the end of 26 unless something falls apart, but.
Right.
I mean, I'm hyper, I ran around with like close, 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 but they asked for rightfully a lot of different inspections, right? And so those are the kind of things that we've learned some things about a building we've owned for years that we did not know.
Well, and other things with it is we have zoning problems.
Yeah.
And we have a commercial building in a residential area that we don't allow residential in. And it's,
Yep.
I mean, I think it's transparent, go to the voters, cut your losses.
Yeah.
yeah.
And if and when these sell, then that's where the money goes. Otherwise, it's gonna have to come out someplace.
Yeah, and part of why I'm making sure to say it out loud now is because everybody's correct. We're down at the bottom end of where we want to be with the fund balance, which is also part of why we put the select board put those one-time recruitment costs into the budget, because we don't want to take those out of fund balance, because we're sort of at that edge on the fund balance. And we don't want to cross it again, because we have been, well, you can look at that chart.
We definitely won't want to go in that red section ever again. We are endeavoring very, very hard. And so if we were to have an unknown, do the recruitment costs and have to reclassify, we're in danger of heading into the red. And I've personally committed that I am never joining in a party that goes into the red in this town ever again. Like, I'm not going there. But I don't think any of you want to go either.
Nope, we worked hard to get out of it.
Dave said it well, we got to cut our losses. And
It's
be very straightforward with it.
It's brutal.
It's been rough from the beginning.
So this slide will have to change for the hearing then.
Yes.
If we're gonna put an article up to take $361,000 out of fund balance to cover the problems.
Yeah.
To give you an idea, if you can see the numbers, but one set of grid lines is $400,000.
So I know I believe we clawed back $400,000 from the fraud.
We got 257,208.23 back from the bank.
Yeah.
We got $75,000 back from our cyber insurance.
Yeah.
And we're trying to verify the number, but what I got today in my quick research, which is a pretty substantial number, so I think it's right, is 48,661.25 back from Primex.
I can confirm that.
You can confirm that? Yeah, so that's what we got.
Okay, that's where I was going.
So
with
that's
the insurance.
388,69.48, if I can read that right. So we got 380 back, we still need to find 360.
So we've exhausted all insurance options.
Yeah, that's what we have left, and we're done. So, unless something weird happens on the Secret Service side of things, which I don't expect.
Every time they round up scammers, I pray it's our person.
You'd have to make a trip to China.
It has happened to people, but I wouldn't expect it.
No.
And
Questions?
So if that's the case, we want to look at the 20,000 we're taking out of undesignated fund balance for the police incentives and put that in the budget?
I think it should go to taxes. In my opinion. Because if We're essentially gonna go below the
I
8%.
disagree with that.
Why?
We're going below the
We need the
8%.
incentive.
It doesn't matter where
I
the
don't want to cut
surplus
the
comes
incentive,
from.
I still want to pay the
Yeah.
incentive, but where we get it from.
I mean, you can do that, but
So here, I'll pull up the chart. We're gonna be below the 8% line if we do the $361,000. Why should, no offense to police, I think we should do it,
Yeah,
but it shouldn't come from fund balance.
I agree.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, no, nothing.
But
I
you're
get
saying
why
it
you
should
were doing
not
it
come
before.
from fund balance, Dimitri?
It should not come from fund balance if the projected undesignated fund balance is below the policy minimum.
And it drives it a little bit lower than it would be otherwise.
If we're below the minimum, why should we say, oh, for this
A
one
little
we'll
bit
make
more
it,
won't hurt.
for this one we'll make an
Yeah,
exception.
because that's how
It
you get in
doesn't,
trouble.
that's
You know,
And so where will that 20,000 come from then?
taxes.
taxes, be part of the budget, if approved.
It's like saying my emergency fund is $10,000, but.
The optimist would
but I'll
say you
put
don't need the money
away for
anyway.
Christmas from the.
The optimist would say it could be approved and may not be necessary.
What do you mean?
They may not need it.
But also
No, we need
take
it.
We might get a
I'm correct.
on the purchase
Oh,
price.
no, when we
So
take
to
it
be
from
honest,
fund balance, next year, we pay again. You know what I'm saying?
right,
So we don't want to do that again.
so I actually, on the police retention thing, I don't know what the name is, I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's.
Sounds good.
It's a popular program, it is working, right? In my mind, it's like the radios. It's going to be there forever. It's a recurring cost that's gonna come every so many years for every new contract. Just put it in the budget.
Yeah, me too.
Right, because it's not like the retirement fund where it's like, hey, if somebody from a long time retires, we're gonna have this big expense. This is more, we're gonna tag it onto every 3-year contract, I don't know what the rules are. We're gonna
It
tag
has
onto
allowed
every-
us to get back to full staff for the first time
I'm not saying not do it.
in
I'm
20
saying-
years.
I'm not saying not doing it, I'm saying put it in the budget, because
Right.
it's there
And
every 3 years.
it also allows us to remain competitive with other towns in the Upper Valley,
I
crucial.
understand.
Right.
I am not saying not doing it, I'm
Yeah.
Yes.
saying put it in the budget.
Yeah.
And I understand the theory of why before, because you're saying, okay, you can spend it, roll it over, which is, I get that, but it makes more sense, I think,
It's
to
essentially,
level taxes.
It's more transparent.
it's a salary cost.
Well, you see it either way, but I think it's cleaner this way.
But even if we don't, we're below the policy minimum. In my opinion, we should vote on the $20,000 from fund balance again, because we're below the minimum. And that doesn't mean I say we shouldn't do it, I think we should, it should just come from taxes. So here, I'll make a motion.
I'll second it.
I'll finish my motion.
I know what it's gonna be.
Make it a good one.
I make a motion that we do not take any monies from fund balance, including for the police retention fund, because we're gonna have to put an article up to cover the fraud from fund balance, which brings us below the minimums.
I'll second that.
Even if Oak Grove Street falls into the river?
Yep, close the road.
My husband said he has a solution for that, so.
Send them in.
No, really.
All right,
Really,
Yeah, no, really, send them in.
yeah.
any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anybody against? No, unanimous. We should still do it. I should just, taxpayer money, just, I'll make that
Do you want to
change.
do our follow-up vote now, too?
I asked the question,
We haven't
for
voted.
$20,000, isn't there somewhere in the budget that we can find $20,000? Particularly with the increase?
Honestly, I hate to say this, and $20,000 is $20,000, but for me, the $20,000 is going to be well spent, and it's really and truly a drop in the bucket here, and.
Oh, I agree that this is that fund is well spent. The question is, where else could it come from?
Yeah, but what I'm trying to say, David, is I don't feel like adding that $20,000 to the budget is gonna make a huge difference in the end. I mean, if we were talking about 400,000, then that's a whole completely different story, but $20,000 sadly is not gonna make that much of a dent.
Sorry, I was gonna do this whole thing. And
Especially when it's as effective as it is.
I'll get the real number from you later, I assume.
Which one?
The article to,
Yeah, I want to verify that, but I will get you the exact number verified.
I'll update the chart. Okay, revenue. So the last thing we saw in revenues was that we were projecting a decrease, and that the decrease was 231,000. The main reason was, we were essentially not planning for loan forgiveness or grants, and so that went from 100,000 to 0, and then we select board voted to not continue the franchise fees, which brings down the revenue another 52,000, and then there's little amounts everywhere, and so the projected revenues were essentially down by roughly 10%. The proposed changes, so I've noticed that for the second year in a row we projected quote-unquote big decrease in revenue and it doesn't happen. It actually stays flat or goes up. And so I'm like, why are we continuing? I understand why the town is projecting a decrease in the revenue, because then if you tell people, hey, your tax bill is going to be this much and it's less, people are happier. But at the same time, I noticed that people were getting, I don't know what the right word is, like you were kind of introducing some sticker shock. It's like, hey, the budget goes up this, but your tax bill is going to go up this much more because the revenue goes down. But then the revenue doesn't really go down. So I was like, hey, we're actually kind of scaring people in bigger tax bills that then don't end up happening. And so it's like, why don't we budget revenue flat? No, we don't know what's going to happen. Just assume it's flat. Historically, it's gone up. These are, again, estimated values, not actuals, but this is what the DRA uses to calculate the taxes, right? Whether or not they're correct or not. And 2023 was 1.97. 2024 was 2.26, and then 2025 was 2.265. And so if 2026 ends up being lower, okay, it's lower, but nobody has the crystal ball. And so in talking to some people, it's like, hey, we should plan for flat revenues unless we clearly know something changes. For example, we're cutting the franchise fees. That is gone, right? And so if you do that, if you essentially keep everything flat, so non-property tax revenue is unchanged, licenses, permits, and fees does go down because of the franchise fees. And then you keep everything else flat. One thing that was also removed was, for 2 years in a row, we now have said, hey, we'll have revenue from Shed Street. And so we're like, okay, let's take that out. Let's actually not plan for sales, right? Everybody wants to sell the building and have the revenue, but when it does happen, it goes to fund balance. Let's just deal with it that way. So that we would still project a decrease in the revenue, right? But instead of 231,000, it becomes 142. Again, these are all estimates. Any questions? I know there's different views and opinions here on this topic, but the other thing I want to point out is, at the end of the day, this does not matter. This is a communication piece, because while information will be sent to the state as an estimate, it gets revised in September.
Yeah, I'll just I've been thinking a little bit about making a change in how we do our revenue estimates. And I've come around to Dimmy's way of thinking that, particularly because as we go to SB2,
Right.
like when we were all sitting in a room at town meeting, having conservative estimates, we can just, Dimmy stands there and explains this directly to the people. That's no longer going to happen. So trying to find a methodology that really, that isn't, well, we know we underestimated, but we did it for good reasons, and we can explain it. Now we should probably try to be like, we're still conservative, we're not gonna project increases, but try to be closer to what we truly expect, I think makes sense as we transition to SB2, where people are not sitting in a room listening to the chair of the budget committee speak. So I've come around to what Demi's presenting here.
So I guess I'm maybe really lost in the woods here, because you're saying we're not gonna like be in a room together and listen to Dimitri's explanation and all that. We've still got the public hearing, that still there has to be a presentation of the budget and explanation. So, I mean, for me, it's sort of the same thing in a sense that, I mean, we still have, people still have to come to this meeting, I mean, if they want to. But then other people can get to vote later on. So,
And I think that's the
And it can
distinction.
be amended at the deliberative session.
And I think that's the distinction for me is we've typically had about 600 voters on Tuesday and 200, and less than 200 on Saturday.
right.
So we're gonna have probably have 400 voters who vote on this budget for the first time. And they're unlikely to come to the deliberative session.
Right.
So while Demi still is going to be making that presentation, there's gonna be a large pool of voters who do not see that
Oh,
presentation.
yeah.
And so that's why I think presenting the absolute best estimate we can do, and it is an estimate, like it's not, I think thinking about our methodology makes sense when we're now gonna have, 2/3 of the voters who don't see it versus 100% of the voters do see it. I think thinking about our methodology makes sense. And it's
Well-
very reasonable for people to disagree with that.
I mean, I still think that even before SB2, but I know it's gonna be a larger percentage, you still had, people that didn't come to any meetings or anything, and then could just come to town meeting and,
But 100% of the
One way or the
people,
other.
but 100% of the people who came to town meeting to vote saw the presentation.
yeah.
Well,
That's,
no.
Some of them walked in and voted and left, so,
Yeah.
I mean,
anyway, as I've thought about it, I think there's a different way that we need to communicate with people. And, we can't rely as heavily on we're in a room together talking. For better or for worse, but I think that's the reality. That's my piece.
And if we look at the towns, some of the towns around us, that indeed happens and has happened.
I think it's,
Been a problem.
if we had a history of going up and like actually going down in revenue, I would be very concerned about having this conversation, but we historically, our revenue goes up every year, and so I'm a big fan of like regression lines that they made you calculate in calculus, which are super not fun, but you can do those now. We aren't quite to that point in that theory, but I think it should probably potentially be higher, but I think budgeting flat minus the knowns is responsible at this point. And we could talk theory earlier on next year.
I would say if you're taking the 90 and the 50 out, I'm pretty comfortable with that. There were a few line items in here that were spiked that are not going to be that high next year. But I think taking those other ones out offset this, and it's probably a pretty good projection at this point.
So when I swung and missed with Jim and the chief, the place I went to was revenue, and what I had suggested was taking half out, and so I came to 145. But I think Jimmy has a more methodical way of getting to a number, and I support that.
And I recommended, as added in the slide before, that we have written guidelines. Doesn't have to be policy like the UDF, but written guidelines, so it's not every year having a discussion. We're following a process.
And we've talked a lot in our select board discussions about how we can do some process improvement, especially with the new employee coming on and doing this internal controls audit. And one of the things I've talked to folks a lot about is doing what's called a work instruction, where you document what you've learned and the methodology for all of these little pieces we've been talking about, so that somebody can go back and look. And then you can change your theory, but you also update your work instructions, so that next year you're not like, how did we do that? I think, because you guys have done some really great work, but like, I get very nervous. What if somebody who is the only one who remembers how we did it isn't here next year?
So, town taxes, originally, so we had a budget increase of 1.36. The actually, the predicted property tax revenue, which was again with the reduced revenue from non-property tax sources, the property tax revenue would have increased 7.23%. With both changes added, meaning the increased budget and the flat revenue, so with general fund going up 3.14, property taxes would go up 8.12 because the revenue is still going down because we're taking out the sale of Shed Street and the franchise fees. And so on the tax impact, as before, for county and state education, I took COLA. For school, I did their 0.96%. I don't know who said that their budget was going down, but it's actually still going up, but not as much, by 1%. Granted that I have noticed a trend that Enfield pays more than that every year. So even though the total school budget is going up 1%, Enfield's portion is going up more. And so that's the trend I've noticed.
Enfield base is based on the number of kids.
Right, and I'm just saying,
So
We have more kids.
Within the district.
We've gained more kids than other
Enfield
towns
has
in the
younger
district.
kids.
It's the proportion of average daily charge.
right, yes. So I'm saying essentially, is I think the school number will be higher. So then, I looked at the last several years of property values going up. The average of that, not including revaluation years, is 0.94%. So if you put it all together, you look at the increase in town value of 0.94, you look at the COLA increases of county and state education, the 0.96 on the school, and then the 7.2, this is the original, the 7.2 on the town, the total bill impact was projected at 2.4%. If you now go with the new budget and the new revenues, the bill impact would be 2.6%.
Does that include that 20,000?
No.
I'm not trying to be a jerk, I just,
Yep.
we just did it, so I was gonna be like, you are way faster than I am.
So
And you are,
the
but-
20,000 still has to come out.
But it's a small amount, but yeah.
It's a small amount. So again, this will also change because of the 20,000.
Yeah, like 0.002%, the balance.
Right. So it probably won't even show up
Yeah.
as a digit
It's
change.
probably in the third.
Yeah.
So Timmy, do we have the same analysis for the default budget?
No.
David, do you have that?
No, I didn't, because I wouldn't know where we were gonna take out, so.
I can add it. It wouldn't be hard, right?
It shouldn't be. It's just math.
Actually, it would be hard.
Why?
So if the default budget passes, is the town required to keep the water, sewer, capital, and TIF the same?
It's not in the,
They aren't in
It is
that
in the
one.
default budget. It's part of it,
Most part of it overall, yeah.
right? Because you're voting on the bottom line number.
And what is the rule? You have to keep it the same as last year?
No, I'm asking, if the default budget were to pass, right?
What happens
I
to water?
assume the town will look for savings everywhere, including water, sewer, capital projects, and TIF.
Yeah,
Unless
but
there are
those will
rules.
have to stay within their own funds.
Own fund.
Yeah, you can't use that for your operating costs.
What?
You can't use those for operating costs.
Okay. So essentially, if the default passes, you can't touch the 02 to 06.
If the default passes, they'll have a default too.
Okay.
Should work.
Deferred maintenance.
So hold on. So if the default were to pass, so you're saying that the default budget of,
Like the TIF wouldn't,
The
Because
default,
that's a one-time cost that would come out. The cost that we added this year would not go in. The TIF budget would go to zero.
The 9 million,
does the 938 include the default budgets for
Yes.
water, sewer, and all the other ones?
Yes, it does.
Okay. So if you can provide those to me, then I can do a tax bill impact for if the default budget passes.
sorry.
But not that sorry, right?
No, I think it's important
It's a good-
for, if you're gonna sell this,
Yep.
to skeptics.
Because at the end of the day, I bet the default budget won't change the tax bill a whole lot either.
Right. And when I vote, I do look at that as
It will
part of
lower
the
it, but
decision.
not as much as you make it.
Like, do I wanna, kick maintenance and, upkeep down the road to save almost nothing on my tax bill? No, so I vote for the budget, not the default.
Can I ask a question?
Yes, you may.
It's more of a clarifying question. Because this is our first year as SB2 in my time. I always, like, when we vote on the school, I didn't think there was like two budgets there. I always thought it was like, hey, vote for the school for, $26 million.
two
If
numbers
it
there.
doesn't pass, and if you vote no and it doesn't pass, the default budget is this.
Yes, right.
It wasn't like vote for this or this.
Correct.
Right,
Okay, I was
yeah.
curious, because that is much, that's much, what you guys talk about is confusing, because it's like, oh, well, if the default budget passes, that's not the case.
No.
If the budget fails,
Oh,
Right.
Correct.
we're into a default
Correct.
budget, so people aren't gonna look at two different budgets, they're gonna look at
Correct.
the budget and then go, hey, if you
That's right.
don't pass this is what you're paying anyway.
Different way of looking.
And both
Okay,
are ultimately,
thank you, I was just starting to think
It
that.
will
That's
look
a
very
good
similar
point,
to what you
Roy. Yeah, that's a good point.
both are ultimately bottom line and can be adjusted by the select board and town leadership.
What do you mean?
We can't,
Within their
we're only
funds.
voting for the bottom line of the budget.
Right.
We're not voting for all these
Individual
spreadsheets
lines,
at
right.
the election
Right.
in March.
Yeah.
They can move
And then
money
it
around.
can be amended at the deliberative session, and it will be voted on, whatever ends up as the numbers, at the election in March.
But they can't change the bottom line.
No.
No,
No,
not the
they-
bottom line, but it's
within
not a
the
line
bottom
item
line.
budget.
But they
It's a
can't-
budget in
they can't-
totality.
They can't move between funds.
What I will say is at risk, and this is a big difference between SB2 and town meeting, is that if we put something new in, so I'm going to say our recruiting and retention line, right? Finance recruiting line. If they vote the budget down, you are legally barred from doing that item.
Right.
We can't go find it somewhere else. So, yeah, that's a mechanism within the law. So there is something to lose here, right? Like, oh, you just vote no because you like to vote no, but you really wish we would have somebody do that position. Now, that's a hard one. So it's just something to be thinking about and, it's.
The one-time stuff, but otherwise.
Because it didn't exist in the prior year budget.
Right, yes. Good
We
time.
could still fill the position though, but just not at
Just the
that.
position.
Right.
And we,
Right.
yeah.
And we wouldn't be
Gotta
able
find the
to,
funding somewhere else.
we wouldn't be able to, no, we can't.
No.
But that's
can't.
just it.
No.
We
Right.
cannot do the
Right.
recruiting piece of it.
Right.
We cannot do a relocation piece.
Oh,
Right.
actually,
If there's a
for a new item.
You cannot do.
Like our
that new
search,
item.
our internal controls on it, they're all
Right.
gone.
So what happens to a town that persistently goes through this process and votes down the budget, and there are towns in the state of New Hampshire that have done that. And I've had a discussion with our attorney who has had experience with those towns. It's a massacre. Everything gets cut. Employees leave. So we really have to do all we can to extol the virtues of the budget that we are passing. Because there are gonna be people who just wanna vote it down. The,
But they don't wanna lose their services.
yeah. There are people
You want more trash services, but
who've
you don't want
practically
to pay for
taken
them.
over Grafton at this point. What do they call them?
Free
Free
staters.
staters.
Yeah,
Wanna be-
free
Your website
staters.
If you wanna be scared.
and had practically taken over the New Hampshire legislature. So this is not a theoretical discussion.
I think your engagement though, and I give credit to Eric for pointing this out to me this week, your engagement has so much value because you have vetted this and you are standing in front of your neighbors as a committee and we as a select board saying, we have put a considerable time and attention into it. And we feel that the process was honest and we feel like what we're asking you to vote on is fair and honest and is the best value for this, services you're gonna get.
So we really have
I'm not
to,
saying it was dishonest.
we've got to do some advertising to get people to come to the meetings.
So, I'm gonna bring something back. So this is partially optics, right? All agree?
Yes.
Yes.
I think there's value in the second digit on that 9 not being a 6.
I'm sorry.
You know,
9604, you mean?
instead of $220,000 increase if it's 190. And I'll go back to, I know there's already people saying no, but do we need $50,000 in temp support?
I don't think that'll have any impact.
Disagree.
I'm not even following you yet, so keep going.
He's back into the recruiting.
Yeah, add your 20 in there too.
Yeah, well, fair. No, nope. It won't be, because the 20 is not in there.
No, that's what I mean, you have to add that in and
Nope.
then minus out.
No.
Wait, explain that, because you're not talking about the default. You're talking about the new budget, where you're adding the 20 in.
So the 20 is gonna fall to taxes. It's
In
still
the
gonna
budget.
be, I thought it was gonna be its own fund and its own line item.
No, it has to be, if it's gonna fall to taxes, it has to be in the budget.
Okay.
Yeah, it's right in the regular budget.
It can be a separate article
Okay,
to do it and have a text,
okay, so we,
but, so it would
Yeah, the
not be.
decision
But we were
made
talking
tonight.
okay, I was working under the assumption that it was being folded into the budget.
Me too.
No, well, I
Me
said
too.
I
that,
think the way it
I
was
think
worded.
long-term, that could be a good idea, and then there was a lot of, oh, we shouldn't do that.
I'd recommend just doing that this year. But I'm not part of the budget committee, so I'm gonna be quiet now.
Yeah, that's what I thought I was, yeah,
I thought that's what we were doing.
When we did the vote, right, we just said, we're not taking anything out of fund balance.
right, that
Right?
part I
Right.
agree.
Right now, the $20,000 is on a line item that is not part of this dollar amount.
Right.
It's in its appropriations below CIP, going into a police retention fund. And rather than saying, hey, we're voting on this and it's not gonna impact your taxes, now it would be, we're voting on this and it will impact your taxes.
So it's a separate warrant article, no, I'm just trying to work this out. It's a separate warrant article that the select board chooses to put on the warrant. So it's not part of the budget that you're creating, it's a separate item.
Right, that's how it's always
So I
been.
think, I have to wonder if the budget committee actually can vote how that article's gonna be written.
No, but they can vote if they wanna put it
Use
in
it
the
in fund
budget.
You
balance.
could not recommend it.
No.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
And you're
We
gonna have
just
to
vote-
present what the bottom line is with it.
We just voted on fund balance.
Yeah.
I didn't say we should or should not do it.
Well, I don't know that the warrant article necessarily would get changed by the budget committee not wanting to take it from fund balance. Because that's different, it's still a separate warrant article. It's not part of the budget.
Unless.
So the question, it could probably be amended at the deliberative session.
Unless the rest of the select board disagrees with me, that, we have not approved the final warrant yet. I'd be very interested to hear the views of put it in the budget versus have a separate warrant article with the change Jimmy said of raised from taxes. And I think that we would,
And the select board.
we
can make a
would
motion
take
for
it under
us to
very
make
serious
that change.
consideration, whatever this group talks about now.
So that fund was established through a warrant article
Right.
initially
Right.
3 years ago.
Yeah.
We haven't had, originally with $20,000.
Yep.
That was expended for recruiting and retention.
Yep.
And then we've used, that was spent the first year, and then we've used salary line to fill those since then. So I'm just throwing out, it's already been on a warrant article once before to establish the fund. So I mean, I'm gonna be there anyway, so I'm always willing to talk, but, I don't know if that changes how it goes, whether it goes as a warrant article or it goes as just a line item funding.
It actually has to be a warrant article because you're putting it into a trust fund.
Oh,
It is a trust fund.
So yes, it's an expendable trust fund.
Oh.
And it has to be a separate
We're just
warrant
not
article
gonna take it out
anyway.
yet.
So it's just the source of funding in
So,
that article.
question answered. No discussion.
Go
needed.
team.
No discussion needed.
Well,
Yes,
the
it
only
is.
Well,
discussion-
except there's a change in the
Discussion.
warrant article
Select
for
board
us.
wanna
Correct.
At
change
some point
Correct.
down the line or now.
We have to change that, but that, we're having those at our next select board meeting, so we have to make that change. But in
guys-
terms of
You don't
like
have
the mechanics of it, it will be a separate warrant article, so
And the source of the funds will be?
will be
Tax
taxes.
dollars.
You guys can make that vote tonight if you want, so we can just make that change for you.
Okay,
And have it in the
It's
warrant.
fine.
which,
You can read it. It's right there in front of
which
you.
one is it?
That one right there.
I'll move to change Article 8 in the draft town meeting warrant from the prior select board meeting to change the funding source from 2025 unassigned fund balance to being raised through taxes.
I'll second that. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you.
That takes that out of that problem.
I mean, so my numbers are wrong and I'm gonna make more
So
revisions
now
to
how are
my
you
spreadsheet.
gonna?
We live
how-
till we're 100,000. Live
What?
with it.
How do you wanna drop that 100,000?
I-
We're not.
It's just,
Third.
You're right,
decimal
the
point.
optics are,
it's optics.
Yes.
and you're right.
But if you took the 50,000 to 20, which is 2 months, 3 months of support, granted that's a whole lot of thing, but it moves that number to 5.7.
I think we have a good estimate that's consistent with not necessarily the recruiting efforts of this town, but with the recruiting efforts that I've sort of seen in the past.
I'm only
And
throwing it out
like I
there.
said, I think that my view is that estimate may be high, I'll agree with you, but I also think that another estimate in there is low. I think overall, it's kind of the right number, and I don't think you gain, I think we lose something on our ability to recruit, and I don't think we gain anything on the optics of this chart here.
I agree.
I also think
Yeah.
we have to present this, and a lot of this goes on you, right? But the rest of us have to be able to answer questions and talk to our neighbors in such a way that we are, it's not coming down to the optics of how a number looks. Like, I get the kind of psychological impact of changing from like $4.99 to $5, I really do. But I think in this case, it is so important to talk about the process that you guys have been through and how hard you worked, because you really did, and honor that process.
Alright, so,
For me, a lot of that number is the recruiting and replacing of a significant position in town
so,
and doing it right.
so here, 2, we'll do show of hands for 1, the new budget. Is everybody in favor of the 9604? Alright, so, because I need to know, I'm gonna make a change,
Okay.
right?
Yes.
So, all in favor of the 9604?
Budget.
Okay, all those against? Alright, changing the revenues to flat, which is going from, where are you? Doing essentially this. All those in favor of changing revenues to flat?
Just a question, are you trying to take straw poll or official
Yes,
votes?
no official
Okay,
votes,
okay,
just straw polls.
just
So that
clarifying for
I
myself.
want, I want people to
Yep,
be able to
yeah,
say that,
yeah.
yes, I'm in favor, no, I'm not.
You're doing, it's not exactly flat, because you took a couple of things.
Right, but changing the
Flattish,
approach,
Yeah.
Right.
changing the approach as we discussed on the revenue, right? There's all those for, here, straw poll, all those in favor of doing that, changing the revenue approach. Okay, so I will change the slides, because none of these numbers are right again, it's a $20,000 change. I will change the slides, update the slides, send them out no later than Saturday at the end of the day. Okay, so next topic. Do people need another meeting before the public hearing?
You can come hang out with us at our meeting.
I am not here, so if there's another meeting, Dan as vice chair has the honor of
So
leading it.
if you're throwing that thought or idea out there, what are things that you are feeling that we need to address, accomplish, whatever?
So we have never gone through the slide deck the way it will be presented at the public hearing.
Is that it?
Can you
Basically?
send those to us?
I will send those to you.
I think you can send it to us.
I can send it to you. But if people, because in the past, for example, I haven't heard anybody say, like, I threw certain slides out. Like, which slide have I thrown out? One that people have asked for every single time.
Tax rate.
Nope.
You had a little bar chart at
Yeah.
some point.
You always
Comparison to
had one
previous
on
years.
how we saved money.
Maybe the police chief remembers what slide I threw out. He's like, oh. I'm not paying attention.
When you start talking numbers, I moved into my phone.
So, the slide on cost reduction efforts and grants has not
Right.
appeared.
Right, that's what I said.
Okay? So if people want that in, I suggest you guys handle it next week.
So the
If
things
there's other, like, I can handle small edits, right? I don't want to be getting 15 emails with requests to change, add a slide on this, change the language here, add a slide on that, change the way this is worded, because normally we have a whole meeting about that, right? I don't know if you guys remember that. We have a whole meeting where people go like, yeah, maybe this word is a little bit better than this word,
I want to
right?
email you.
I'm serious.
No, I know what
And
it's like, it's
I-
a valid process.
I will make small changes via email, right? I will not be managing 15 emails with people with page-long requests on editing words and slides and adding content. If that's the case, you should have another meeting.
I like the slide that has things that people solicited, grants for, because I feel like, as a taxpayer, somebody tried to reduce this number. And did in many ways.
And so-
And I feel it's a good communication tool and
I
a show of good
deleted it.
faith.
I deleted it because I didn't have the content.
We could assign that back to the town, because, we love to assign them homework.
But my point is,
Well, it's not really part of the process that we've discussed as yet,
so
anyway.
my point is, we normally have a whole meeting on that, okay? If you want to have that meeting, you should have it next week. I don't have to be the one at the laptop making edits to the words on slides. Somebody else is qualified, it doesn't have to be Dan, somebody else can qualify to do that.
So I'm happy to host a meeting, but I don't feel like we need it. And I think any edits that are necessary at this point can just be sent to you as suggestions, and then you can make an executive decision if you want to implement or not.
I think that makes a lot of sense.
Okay, if you want to
If there's a
slide,
major edit, we
if
can
you
call a
want-
meeting.
if you want to slide on that, somebody should work with that and the slide should be sent to me. Right, I don't want to,
I think, didn't you say the select board was gonna handle that?
well, they were just going to sign that.
No, we're just delegating.
Sign homework.
We have this great guy who works for us.
So,
Ranger?
The grant-
am I
Sorry,
missing
sorry,
something?
I
I've got-
what, you're looking for the grant numbers?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, they're there. I can get them to you. You don't want me to build a slide, but I can.
Wait, do you still have your Emily?
I
I don't
do,
remember
yeah.
this one either,
For
but I
like a
thought we
couple
usually
months.
voted on warrant articles.
After the public hearing, you vote
Oh,
on
okay.
every single
I don't know why I was
Yeah.
thinking it was before.
Remember,
Yeah.
after the hearing, we go
Okay,
So the public hearing is next week,
the 20th.
16th?
the 20th.
20th.
The 15th has public hearings on bonds and notes over $100,000.
That's us,
That's the select board.
With the select board.
which we would love to have you come to.
No, you're
Anything else?
I'm here for it.
Dimitri, do you have the slide from last year with the grant numbers?
I do.
So if you email it to me, I'll just pull out last year's numbers and put on this year's numbers.
There's nothing wrong with you doing a straw poll right now on whether people want to see that slide included.
Well, she already said she wants it. So.
That wasn't a straw poll, so.
So, if you send me the numbers, I can provide.
Okay, I have them, I'll send them to you tomorrow, that's okay. I guess if I was paying attention 5 minutes ago.
So, the other thing on that slide was cost reduction efforts by the town. If there are cost reduction efforts by the town that the town wants highlighted, please send them to me by the end of the day tomorrow. Otherwise, I will just remove the section cost reduction efforts, and it will just be the grants topic on that slide.
I think when we did before, was that like when they built the cool sidewalk creating machine, as an example, or no?
I don't remember what was in there. I'll have to look at it.
Last year was in there, the health insurance change.
That was a big one.
I'd have to look, I don't remember what was in there 2 years ago.
Insurance.
Wasn't it the DPW built that shed and stuff like that?
Oh, right, they just built us
Hey, what about the line marker thing? Is that something they?
I honestly don't care what goes on the slide. Somebody tell me.
Ed has cool ideas, let's let him do it.
Jimmy's made it clear, if we have ideas, we need
Yeah,
to take responsibility for that and have it done by the end of the day tomorrow.
So there probably won't be much on that, but I do think that DPW shed that they just built out of recycled material is probably worthwhile.
Send me the words. Anything else?
This is Nancy Smith. Can I
Alright,
help you?
make a motion to adjourn.
Yeah, a second.
That
Budget committee's
wasn't,
adjourned.
that wasn't really cost reduction, that was time.
Motion to
reduction.
adjourn?
second,
Cost increase.
Aye.
aye.
For us. Yeah, we might get it back over time. I don't know if you've seen it, it will go on a smaller field, like if the little kids are playing.